Nate, tell us a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Yeah, Nate Paulus. I'm from Niles, Michigan, which is the far southwest corner of Michigan. I'm licensed in both Michigan and Indiana.
Yep.
We're right there in the South Bend area. Go Irish. Been licensed for coming up on 8 years.
And you've been at it for 7 years. You've gone through Sales Rocket, team and brokerage building, and one-on-one coaching. I understand you run an indie brokerage as well as being in production.
Yes, I started my own brokerage just over 2 years ago. Have about a dozen agents.
Okay,
all
right.
That.
Perfect, good for you. So in 2024, your production, this does not include your brokerage, your production, 49 units, 17 million. So far this year, you're at 20 units, 6 million, and you're on pace for 55 units and 20 million in volume.
Yes, 25 units and almost 8 million since we talked.
Yep, okay.
5 days ago, had a few things happen over the weekend.
Yep, I believe you did. So when I think about running a brokerage and hitting 50 plus units and doing 20 million in volume, that's got to take up a lot of your time. So how do you balance it all?
I don't, but I'm doing better. I know you can get this question, what has coaching done for me? And this kind of falls into that. One thing my coach really helped me with, which I give a big shout out to Nick, who's been my coach, and then I just started coaching with Kate as well. Mm-hmm. But one thing that he was really helpful with was leveraging my time, because I found myself trying to do everything. I'm producing, I'm managing transactions,
yep.
I'm doing everything for our agents, all the behind this, scene things of our business, and I just felt myself tapped out. And he said, you have to leverage your time. And so early last fall, I hired a full-time admin who's also licensed in both states.
Yep.
And so that was a really big part in me actually getting time back to focus on the most important things, and then back to whatever balance is, trying to figure that out.
Yep.
But definitely having more time to invest into my wife and my kids.
Okay, well there we go. So you're leveraging, yeah, clap for that for sure. So you're getting more of your time back so you can focus. I know some of your business, or a lot of your business today, is coming from your database. And one thing that really stood out to me is you've been following us for a bit. I don't know how long you were following us before you were involved with us, but if you were, you've probably heard me a time or two talk about this idea of this 8% rule with the database, meaning 8% of your database and 8% of the number of people in your database will either refer you or do business with you annually. And every now and again, I'll say it's very rare that I'll meet an agent that's over 8 to 10%. I mean, you might have a few that are 9 or 10, very rare, especially over the last decade, that number's come down because the loyalty from our database is not the same as it was 10 years ago, because they have technology and different ways of getting in touch with people today that they didn't have 10 years ago. So it's even harder to keep your database loyal to you. And at last check, you were at 11%.
Yeah, so last year and actually this year, I'm trending even higher than that. So the 25 deals I have pending or closed, 23 of those have come from my database.
Okay.
So that's all SOI, sphere of influence, referrals, past clients.
You said to me on the phone when I said, that's really impressive. It's very rare that I meet someone in double digits today. You said, well, my goal is to get to 15% by the end of the year.
I might be crazy, but I do believe I'm leaving stuff on the table. I think there's more opportunity. And the one question I ask in anything I do when it comes to adding value to my database is that question: am I adding value to these people's lives in everything we do, from my communication through multiple emails per month, I do around 4 client events per month.
Yeah, give us some specifics.
Yeah.
When I think about 11%, like I think about rewriting ours, like because I teach to get to 8%. So there's got to be some things that you're doing differently that we're not teaching, or maybe we are teaching but you're expanding on them. So talk to us about the things that you think, if you were to narrow it down, what are 2 or 3 things that you're doing that you think has the greatest impact on referral business from your database?
Yeah, definitely. My goal is always to stay in their flow so that when they have a need, they think of me, or they know someone who does have a need, they're going to think of me. So some things I'm doing that I think are really helpful. I'm always asking, how can I have high impact touch points? There's a lot of low-level stuff I do, and that would be we send out multiple emails per month. One of those is just going to be a simple market update. Here's what's going on. Here's what we're seeing, pretty basic. And then I always highlight a place of the month that me and my family enjoy, and I always try to include a personal photo with that. So I find that anytime I can bring myself, my family into that, there's a strong connection that is made that I'm a real person. I'm just like them, and we are doing life in our community.
I used to be used to be so jealous of the agents that could do that for my entire career because I was just a single guy, no wife, no kids.
That's about to change, though, isn't it?
That's about to change, August 30th.
Congrats.
Yeah.
That's right. Give it up for him.
Anyways, I used to be so jealous of the agents that could do that because I felt like that was my huge disadvantage. So yes, if you've got it, flaunt it, right? It's effective because people can connect with that.
And my wife is awesome at connecting with people. So she's not directly engaged with my business, but she's a part of all the events that we do. So people probably really like her more than me. But we do 4 client events per year. And any event that we do, I try to make it something that does not distract me from my day-to-day business. Because I found sometimes events can be big and distraction.
Repeat that and write this down. For those of you that do client events, it's probably the greatest mistake agents make in this audience. Yeah. They get all hyped up on these, they go to a breakout on client events or they hear Taylor on stage talking about our big client event, and then they spend all their time organizing this great big event, and then they wonder why after the event's over, they're out of business, or they don't have any referrals coming from that event, or it took a while to get business and it wasn't worth it because they're not doing that right there. So say that again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, so any event that I put on, I make sure it does not take time away from my day-to-day business. So I make them simple and easy to replicate from year to year. I probably don't personally spend more than an hour prepping for an event.
Okay.
Maybe 2 tops on certain events. And I can just walk through real quick some of those events.
Please.
On how they're so simple. So every February, we do a movie event. We rent out a theater. We have our table set up in the lobby beforehand, handing out drinks and popcorns. Mm-hmm. We just invite people and families to the movies. They love it. We get so much great feedback from it. I always do a big giveaway just right before the movie starts and just do a big thank you. And because it is my database, there's actually a lot of people that know each other. So they feel like they're at the movie with their friends. Yeah. So that is something that does not take much time at all to pull off. Secondly,
and is relatively inexpensive. I mean, what do you think your budget is for that?
Yeah, it ends up being about $6 to $7 per person. We have an awesome theater that cuts us a deal for drinks, popcorn, and a ticket. So that works out great.
So 100 people, you're at $700 out the door.
Yeah. So usually at that, we have about 180 people that show up to that event.
Okay. So you're doing this for less than $1,500.
Yep. And then every May we do what we call the greenhouse event. We set up a tent out in front of the greenhouse, and we have coffee, treats, but we hand out free hanging baskets. And once again, it does not take anything to set that up. And for all of the events that we do, and you've heard it said here, what's maybe more important than the actual event is the opportunity it gives me to communicate with my database before the event via email, text messages, if you're sending postcards in the mail, and then even after the event and via social media as well. And one final event.
Well, hold on. What you just said there, and I want everyone to catch this. I want you to change your frame of mind on this. The event itself is just the cherry on top. It's the communication plan around the event. It's the social media during the event. It's the follow-up after the event. That's actually where the money is made and the credit is given from the client to you. The event itself is just the cherry on top. So the challenge that I would give anyone in here who is putting on client events, which obviously we encourage them, we endorse them, is are you putting more time and energy into the event itself or the pre and post work, which is really where the referrals come in?
Yeah, definitely. So I look at every event as an opportunity to have 3, 4, even 5 touch points with our database through emails, texts, and other things during that event. So one final event that I love, and this kind of did not start out as a client event, it just happens to be a lot of our sphere, but we do a big fall festival party actually at our house every fall. We have 300 to 350 people come out for this, and we cater food, we have hay rides, all the fall things that you would expect, and people just love it. And so it's hard to always say, because of this event, here's the direct business tied back to it, but I can look back at the end of the year and see where my business came from. And I know it's because of those events, and I look at them as, in a lot of regards, a high impact event, because anybody that comes, we have the opportunity to have real conversation. It's not just handing something through the window, giving it to them, or come pick up this thing.
Throwing a pumpkin pie at them.
It's nonstop during our events. I am talking to people, connecting, building those deep relationships.
So how do you have hay rides in your yard? Do you have acreage or something?
We do have 25 acres.
Okay.
And Yes, we blow up
So
things
if we
for the
wanted to
kids.
do
We'll
that,
have live
we'd have-
music. My wife really tried to get me to get Big Ben down there for the event, but
Yeah.
maybe
He
that'll
travels.
happen.
He travels.
You know, for the right. Yeah.
So wait a minute. So if we don't have acreage, does this mean we got to like rent an Airbnb with acreage or something? How would we pull that off?
Yeah, I think you can get creative on who can you partner with.
Yep.
Are there local
Cider
mills, pumpkin
apple
patches, things
orchard.
like that,
Yep.
and make it fun. It doesn't have to cost a lot. All of our events, while they can be pretty big in scale, where we're always having 150, 200, 300 people plus at them,
Yeah.
honestly, we don't spend a ton of money on them.
I was gonna say, what do you
considering.
think your total annual budget is for your events? Ballpark it on the high side.
Yeah.
On the high side,
I'm probably spending $4,000 to $6,000.
4,000 to 6,000.
Yep, annually on our events.
And
And so the
there's-
return on that, obviously, if I'm doing 35, 38, 40 deals from my database,
Yeah.
we know that number is pretty.
That's a
pretty
good
big.
return. That's a real good return. Okay, talk to us about one of the things that you've been working on consciously over the last 12 to 18 months is breaking into a higher price point. I know everyone in this room, regardless of whether they want to be a luxury agent or not, everyone is interested in increasing their average sales price. So how are you doing that?
Yeah, so in the town I actually live, Niles, it's probably like Detroit, where the average price point's like, $20,000.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more than that. But I think we all have the idea of how can we grow our business. And for me, it was, okay, I can do more transactions, which is always my goal, do more transactions, or I can sell properties that are worth more money to see my net income at the end of the year to go up. And so something I've been strategically focusing on is how can I, once again, break into those higher price points. And some things that I have done is I always look at when I get a listing, how can I leverage that listing to get another one that's worth a little bit more money?
Yes.
And so some practical...
Hold on a second. Everyone in the room, what I wanted you to hear there is when I take a listing. See, your first thought is when I take a listing, okay, now I got to get it sold. Nate's thought is I just took a listing. Now how can I use this listing to help me get more listings? And oh, by the way, that's not a disservice to the seller because it just means you're going to get more eyeballs on their property and the outcome for you is going to be a sold listing and more listings. So how do you do that?
Yeah, definitely. So 100%, I want to treat my sellers right. I'm going to work hard to get that sold. But before we even go live, I'm saying, how can we use this to get another listing? And so some practical ways, and just even some examples from the past couple weeks on this, is everything I do, I want to do it to the highest quality level possible. The marketing, the presentation, the video, the print marketing, all those different elements, we can skim over at times and say, do I really want to spend that extra $300 or $500, or do I really want to stage this house and it's going to cost me $2,000? But I look at every one of those. It is essential to do things to the highest level possible so that it sets me up to have a conversation with another seller. And just a couple weeks ago, I took a $2.7 million listing.
Which is a big deal in anywhere in Michigan, especially Southwest Michigan.
Yeah, it is, definitely. And so, once again, even before we went live with that, I'm saying, what can we do to present this and get it out in front of people, not just for potential buyers, but other sellers? And the first week that was in the market, I received a phone call from another potential seller that said, we just saw your listing, we saw your social media, we saw your online photos, videos, all the different aspects, landing pages that we have, and we don't know who you are. We're about to list our property, and we think we need to meet with you.
Yep.
And they said, but we can't meet for 3 weeks from now. So I put what I call a pre-listing appointment follow-up plan in place, where I started sending stuff to their house, strategic text messages with links to some landing pages, videos, social media reels. The social media reel for the previous property, I had like 8,000 organic views in the first 3 days, which for me is huge. So I ended up setting that appointment. And I had a call with them the day before because calling the seller, I just want to confirm we're still good to go tomorrow. And he's like, what do we need to do to get this listed? We're pretty much sure we want to list with you. Bring the listing agreement. So that next day, met with them, and we signed a listing agreement for $4.5 million on that property.
That's big. That's big. That is the definition of what we talk about. And you guys heard this when we introduced the Plaques method back in January, and we're going to talk more about an enhanced Plaques method throughout the rest of the retreat. And that is the definition of what we talk about, the P in Plaques, the pre-appointment, the pre-marketing. What you do in advance is what causes them to make their decision of whether they're going with you or not before you get there. It used to be you show up and you present well, and maybe you'll get the listing, maybe you won't. Today, their mind is already made up before you even go on the appointment.
Yeah, can I speak to that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
please.
I think that is really important. So I think something that's really important with that whole idea, if you want to get into a luxury market, you have to ask the question, does my presence online, what people search, what they Google, what they see on Zillow, my social media, all those different platforms, does it represent the type of listing I want to get? Because all these people, they are looking and searching me and saying, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Can we trust him?
Yep.
Do we think he can do a good job? And so 100%, I think that's accurate.
So your mindset is that the sellers are doing this research ahead of time, which we know, and you're making sure that what they can find is deserving of their listing, essentially is what you just said.
Yeah, and actually I just created what I call a listing landing page to market myself, because the one thing I found was I would have a listing appointment set up, but I didn't have anything good to send over to them via text. Like, here's a link, here's information on me. And if they expect me to market their home and I'm gonna do it well, and I can't even market myself well, why do I think they're going to choose me? So I've had numerous appointments lately where I've been able to text that link out. It gives all the overview of basically my whole listing presentation. I walk into the appointment, I don't even open up the listing presentation because they already know it. They're like, where do we sign? Or let's talk some details and just make sure we're on the same page and let's sign and get this done.
Tomorrow, when we get into tactics, we're going deep on social media strategies that we're using right now to generate seller business. And I bet we're doing a lot of the same stuff. Last question I have for you, Nate. I know, again, this will be your best year ever.
That's what we're headed for.
Yep, all right. And what is the one thing that you've gotten out of working with us?
Definitely. So two things. The Sales Rocket program has been a huge help, and it's something that I really highly encourage every agent that comes and works with us to go through. And I believe in it so much that I tell them, when you finish that program, and at your next closing, I will reimburse you the cost for that personally, because I so believe in that.
And so it's part of your onboarding process now when an agent joins your brokerage.
Exactly. Yep. It's something that we make available, encourage them to go through. And then, I think finally, just the coaching element of, I just know that it's so helpful to have someone in the outside looking in at my business that can see things that I don't see, can help me walk through just where I'm at and how do I get to that next level is definitely essential to my growth.
Awesome. Let's hear it for Nate Paulus. Nice job.